Today we're working on a Volkswagen 01P, which is a modified version of the 01M. It's used in Eurovans, and oftentimes these Eurovans are made into Rialta motorhomes. So this is out of a 2002 Rialta, Winnebago Rialta motorhome. Right, so the first thing we want to do is get rid of this manual lever position switch. We do a lot of stuff, almost everything we do is shipped here via freight. So I tell people to remove these before they get here because it kind of sticks out into nothingness and it gets broken often. But we have to take it out anyway, so take them out before you send them to me. So it's just one 10mm bolt and a bracket. And it's a pretty simple 2-pin switch that just tells your computer gear position. It's also going to give you start, inhibit, and anything other than neutral and park, and it works your reverse lights. Okay, since I have the 10mm on, I'm going to get rid of this back cover. Looks like this thing's got a big dent in it and maybe a gouge, so we're probably going to have to replace that. So these are all 10mm bolts. These bottom three are a special bolt that kind of has a little stud that sticks off of it. So the first thing we have to do is get rid of this stub shaft, and they could be kind of difficult. Sometimes they're easy, sometimes they're hard. It's like somebody lifted it up for me. I'm going to take this little extension housing out. And on the early versions of this unit, this extension housing is like a foot long. Underneath here, you have a snap ring that holds your speedo gear on. Try and find the opening for this. It's right here. We'll cheat a little bit. Got to be gentle with this because it's only plastic. All right, next I'm going to split these case bolts. The only thing to take note of, there's one hidden down there, and there's one you have to get through there. And we have a couple that are just nuts that are on little studs. And now we split the case. Next, we're going to get this differential out of the way, so we have to knock the other axle flange through from this way. Next, we're going to turn it around. And in here, there's a 13mm bolt that has to come out. And there's also a washer. And there's a little spacer. And the spacer is important. When you put this back together, you have to make sure it's centered, and obviously you have to make sure you put it back in. If you don't, it could get real ugly back here because it will blow these bearings out of it. You'll melt these two cone bearings. So next, we're going to flip it up and take the transmission pan and our body out of here. A little junk in here, but nothing too serious. And same thing here with keeping these little inserts in case you don't get them in the rebuild kit. Now we have what's another source of problems. I'm not going to go too crazy because when we do these, we change what they call the ribbon or the internal harness, and we change all 7 of these solenoids. So to get these things out, they have a special tool, but you could kind of do without it. Right, so that's out of the way. A 10mm bolt that holds it. And we kind of have a test for this part. We throw it in a garbage pail, and if it jumps back out, then we consider it reusable. Next, the valve body bolts. So there's 13 of them. And if you have one of these things or you know anything about them, you know this valve body is an engineering marvel and they need a lot of TLC. Another thing down in here is a little housing that has an O-ring on it, and it presses down against your center support, and this is what feeds your low reverse clutch pack. So always make sure this gets back in. This stuff you just have to be careful not to bend it, but we're going to leave it in as we take the thing apart. These usually pop out, but not the case with this one. So this is a good opportunity to show you how to use a pump puller, because I don't think we have too many other videos where we need to use it. And this has got a deep recess in here, so we're going to put a socket in here to give us a little more space. There it goes. Now I can take this whole mess out of here. Down in here we have a couple snap rings. And these two things are identical, this snap ring and the second one. I have a bearing in here. Sometimes it's a little stubborn. Another bearing. And our set of low reverse frictions. So as you see here, we have two spacers underneath, and these are used to set the clutch clearance. we have another bearing race. Now what's interesting to note in this transmission, on these Torrington bearings, there's two sides. If you notice, this has a dam for oil to accumulate in, and that provides lube for the bearing. So this dam faces the front of the transmission in every bearing that's used in here. So as you can see, these are pretty straightforward transmissions. One compound planetary. Clutch hubs. We have a couple more bearings. And this is another important thing to take note of. You have all these little caps, and this serves as your turn spring for your 2-4 clutches. All right, so when this gets put together, it goes like this. And we'll show you that in another video, but this returns all those clutches to their normal position. Now there's just the little apply sleeve. And then we have a K1 clutch drum, which is your driving clutch for reverse. We have another set of frictions, and they look like they're in good condition as well. Now on these, sometimes you could pull them apart, but oftentimes the later style ones require this to go into a hydraulic press, and we're going to have to press all this through. So this is the object here. We want to catch this outer drum on here. And this isn't a very heavy press fit, but you're also not going to take it apart on your own either. So we have two more sets of clutches. And these two clutch packs are typically the source of damage. I think this transmission is going to be in pretty good shape, but the typical is that these are torched. So now on the bottom, you have a little pressure plate, and it's got a built-in cushion spring. And this unit has what they call single-sided frictions. So there's only friction material on one side, and the other side acts as your steel plate. Next, we have to kind of get in here and take this snap ring out. And we're going to go over this during the assembly procedure. But if you could see, there's these little plastic pieces in here that kind of act as a surface for this to ride on. That's something that you change with every rebuild, but there's a certain procedure for putting them in. You have to put these in first, then snap your pieces in, and then you can put the rest of the plates in. So as far as what I can see here, we don't have any burnt clutches, which is good. Oh, also, we have these washers that you have to be aware of. There's usually two. They're usually green. They're selective, and different colors are different thicknesses, and they sit here. So this is our 2-4 clutch pack that we kind of showed before. And these things are also in pretty good shape. Finally, the pump. We have this little plastic washer here that is a throwaway. I mean, it's so small and delicate, that it's usually not in good shape to reuse. And this is something that really needs to be in perfect condition. What would be a good pump in another transmission wouldn't work in this. You know, it really has to be perfect. It's critical. Okay, also we have a clutch piston in here. And this transmission has molded pistons in it. All right. This is another thing that's mandatory. All the molded pistons in this thing have to get changed no matter what. Now let's see what the pump looks like. This is our driven gear, our drive gear rather. And if you see, there's a shallow recess on this side and a little bit deeper on that side. So this side has to face up towards you. And really, you can't have any wear in here, because if you do, this pump's a paperweight. Same here. And this thing is way better than most of them. We could go a little bit further, but I think I'm going to leave it at this for our teardown. Please like, share, subscribe, and hit the notification bell.